Well, we're here with Lynn, who is an intuitive energy healer. She has an astounding number of things that she's done in her life. Her bio reads like it just goes on and on. It's quite amazing. So I'd like to introduce all of you to this wonderful woman. And Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Um, so Jock, I really didn't know a whole lot about your work, and I loved meeting you last year at the Journey to Truth conference, and hearing all about terraforming. And and then I had to blow up your Facebook account just a month ago when I was out. So my family and I, we took 2 weeks and we did Sedona, the boulders out near Scottsdale, and we did St. George and Mount Zion, and we did hiking. So having heard your amazing lecture and your information on terraforming, the whole time I was out hiking, I was telling my family, look for the seams. Line straight up.
Heel.
And then over
Wait on
here.
heels.
Line straight down. See it? And then here's the next row. Straight up. See, look at those, like panels. I probably was on the verge of annoying because I would just stop. I'm like, that's not natural. That doesn't happen in nature. That was made. And so I was taking pictures, videos, and I was sending some of them to you. And I love talking about perspectives because really like our experience and even just in every dimension, on every lifetime, it's just really about your perspective of how you're having it. And then so once the theory and your concept and your thought of terraforming came into my awareness, my perspective shifted. And then so now when I'm out, I see it everywhere, and it's so fascinating. So thank you for doing that work.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. The Bosnian Pyramid complex was my training ground. I was there for 23 months, and without that, I wouldn't have seen it because I think the Bosnian pyramids are a late stage terraforming project, and they're not the same as the pyramids that are sort of more obviously built separate from the earth. They're a part of the earth in Bosnia, and that's why it took people so long to find them. And it took Bosnian native Semir Osmanagic to discover them because he had been around the world for 10 years writing books about different pyramid complexes and things before he came back to his own home country and said, "Hey, these are pyramids," you know. And so it was quite an amazing. He had his own training. He was training for 10 years out in South America and different places where they have all these pyramids. And he comes back to Visoka, Bosnia, where he'd never been, and he goes, "Wait a minute, that hill, Visočica Hill, is oriented to the cosmic north. That's weird." And he goes up on top of it and he looks across the Foinica River and he sees what he then named the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. And he said, "We're standing on the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun." And people were like, "Are you crazy, sir?" And that's been his journey, is dealing with ridicule from academia, who says that the only people that lived in that area were people with spears and hunter gatherers gathering berries, and they had no way to build anything out there. So he must be wrong. And it's like, well, what if humanity is not the only race that's been on Terra? And in fact, what if we are blessed to live on a planet that is a home built for us or built for whoever happened to come along? We're the ones that came along by advanced races. Well, what a wonderful thing to think that this is a home that was built as opposed to just came into existence through natural forces. It was an accident, you know.
Yeah. I'll tell you the thing that I think is crazy is are individuals who choose to take their profession to go into academia. And the reason why they do that is because they had a very curious mind as a child, right? They had a lot of questions and they were searching and they wanted to research. And then they get to this point, they get to this stage when then the more you question or look for something new, then they mock and ridicule. Like, at what stage does their brain just go, whoom, and then it's not allowed to be curious or question anymore? I've always had a very childlike nature, so I am always questioning. I'm always fascinated and curious about everything around us. And then the more you kind of you dig and do some dives, you realize we've never been told the truth about pretty much anything, or maybe there's little slivers here and there. But for to look at the pyramids, like let's take the pyramids in Egypt, for example, but they're finding new pyramids. I feel like every month they're finding another pyramid in these jungle systems. But to look at that and then to sit back and realize we were actually told and we believe that that was built to bury one person in. What I just, and so many people bought it, that was just a tomb.
Right.
It's just, it boggles my mind that that was just like rubber stamp. Yep, there we go. That's what it was. And then once you get more around them and you realize, just like in Bosnia, like they're part of nature. Okay, so if they're part of nature, then what did they do to help nature? The information that came through, not for the smooth pyramids, but for the step pyramids that came through a channel, was these were machines to help terraform this planet to get it ready to hold more life. And so they needed to ionize the environment more. And they were giving me images of like, because it would make the fauna grow more robust. And they were getting images of plant life going and really expanding and it happening rapidly, so that then they could seed more life here.
It's interesting because when I was in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex back in the day, I started in 2011, then went back in 2014. There was this article called Pyramids as Ionizers. And that was at least by 2014. It might have been 2011. And I promoted that big time because it was so detailed and so amazing. And I thought, wow, what if this is true? And what if this is why they need, or why the builders created these complexes either at a river, so the river's winding through the complex, or they built the riverbed so the pyramids were built from the riverbed up. In other words, they built the riverbed as the foundation for the pyramids, which is what they did in Bosnia. So in other words, they wanted water running through, and this water was key to having the pyramids act as energy machines that would ionize the atmosphere. And it's like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And I thought, I don't know if it's true. I'm a playwright. I'm going to put this article out and see what scientists think, because the scientists should be able to figure all this out and go, yeah, that could work, So that was an exciting idea, and I'm glad you're bringing that up, because you're on a journey that has brought you to a lot of different places in your life. I mean, you started out in so many different places and gone to so many different places from those, and you're branching out like this tree behind me, and you have so many different interests and so many different skills. You're a master Reiki practitioner, is that correct?
Yes, yeah. I often joke that Reiki is is the gateway drug into psychic mediumship.
Okay.
Because I don't know a single Reiki master that is not also a very gifted medium.
Okay.
Going into becoming a channeler. Because again, it all comes from the same exact place. So I'm running with two other friends. We're doing a 4-day immersive workshop in April down here in Charleston, and we're doing healing, psychic, and mediumship, because all three come from the same exact place within the body. Again, it's coming to a place of using the body as a communication tool, because we are receiving information from around us in so many different ways. And really the goal is making yourself, like your heart center, become this master dialer, like just like a radio, right? So like an AM frequency, and just getting it to that right pitch so that then you can hear the transmission clearly. And that's really all that you're doing. Is this body is meant to be a receiver of information, or should I say the body is capable of being a receiver. And that's another part that has been withheld from us. And I think communication is a big thing, because you're right. So my background is working in television and working in radio, And, my degree is in broadcast journalism, and I did that for a number of years. And through that, I realized the deception that is within this mainstream swamp that we know of today. And I just couldn't be a part of it. I just couldn't be a part of it anymore. And so I walked away from that. But I am still that communicator. I'm always looking and trying to find ways of how can I communicate to other people the things that I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, and understanding, and how that perception is coming in clearly. So yeah, so that's the bit of the background there. In between doing that and then doing what I'm now, I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. Helped my husband start his business, and we worked with marketing and communication. I used my skills back then. We would get a new client, and we were, how are we going to integrate this new technology through, how can companies use this in order to better communicate and help their clientele? So, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it at the time. Now I understand. I would, my husband would debrief me on the new client and what their hopes were, and I would go for a run. I would go out and I'd go for a run. And I would just start texting my husband because I would start getting ideas. Oh, we could do this. Oh, have them bring this over here, and then they could implement this into this aspect of their business. And I didn't realize at the time I was channeling. I was just receiving that as downloaded information. So yeah, it was always there.
Well, Ken Rolla talks about our DNA as receivers of scalar wave blueprints coming from the center of the galaxy. And that might be a lot of information in one sentence for people, but go check out Ken Rolla's videos. One's called Pyramid Power, and another's called How Consciousness Creates Reality, which is like kind of a mind-blowing title for people who have been eating at McDonald's for their whole lives and eating the sad diet, standard American diet, and have no idea of something outside of the matrix, and here's Ken Rolla. He comes along, he's talking to reptilian beings who told him for years telepathically about different machines that he could help build here, just like Tesla was told by the Venusians who brought him here what machines he could build to help humanity. So Ken Rolla is on the forefront of stuff. And so Ken Rolla comes along, and if he tried to talk to somebody who's firmly in the matrix, they'd go, I don't know what you're talking about. Please get out of my way. I'm in line for a burger. But I guess partially, or maybe even mainly, at least I'll speak for myself. I feel like I'm here for the people in the matrix. I want to help somehow be a bridge to people who don't have any clue that there's something more than they were told in high school.
Yeah. It's so funny. I actually just got I just got a metaphor in my head, because you and I, we've met so many people, and the common theme is I know I'm a bridge. I'm meant to be a bridge. And Spirit actually just gave me the image. A bridge is not built with one brick. It takes thousands, hundreds of thousands of bricks. They're giving me actually the old like Brooklyn Bridge, but like it takes all of those bricks to actually make an entire bridge. And that's why there's so many of us here that we feel this soul calling, the soul mission to be that bridge of helping transition to get out of the McDonald's line and and onto a fresh farm.
And onto a what?
A fresh farm.
Oh yeah, from the McDonald's factory farming nonsense to a beautiful farm where the chickens and the other animals are treated humanely, and the plants are the main part of our diet, and blah blah blah. We just keep going. Sustainable agriculture, permaculture, electroculture. There's electro farming now where they put copper rods in the soil, which is kind of cool. I'm slowly learning about this. I mean, the possibilities are endless for us. And that's what I hope to bring with this podcast, is to bring people on who are sort of, in general, forward moving people that obviously have hope in their lives about humanity and about, society. And so that you can be an example your energy essentially is the example for people, even if you didn't say anything. Just your energy is giving them example of how we can be. We don't have to be depressed. We don't have to be, it's just little old me. We don't have to be, I'm in a box and I have no hope. We can be, there are possibilities. There's some possibilities over here. And guess what? There's about 100,000 million, billion, trillion other possibilities over here if you really want to go check them out, you know?
Yeah. I was watching a little viral video earlier today, and that gosh darn social media, which just sucks me in sometimes. And Anon posted it, and he said, look at this person have a complete meltdown. And the purpose was to make fun of this person. And it was this guy, looks to be in his mid-20s, working at a hotel, and he had a mask on. So I'm assuming that maybe perhaps this is during the blip. But the guy recording it was just saying like, why is this my fault? That like, why can't this be resolved? And why is it my fault to resolve this? Like, you work for the company. This is a company who did this poorly. Why can't you fix it? And this guy in his mid-20s just stood up and started banging himself in the head. And then he rammed his computer and continued to like hit himself. And then he just walked to the back room, and you could just hear him sobbing, just losing it, just sobbing. And the guy taking the video, he continued to record, and he walked to the side, and you could see this man standing there and essentially making fun of this guy. So, some of the comments were like, this world is lost. This is what we're dealing. This is the mentality. And I just posted, I go, this is when we have to step up as humans. That individual just needed help to regulate his nervous system. So stop recording, like we as a collective, stop recording and become human.
Right.
And go up to the other human and help him regulate his nervous system and work together to create a solution to the problem calmly. Like this bridge is coming where we've been so divided for the past number of years over during the blip and left side, right side, and maskers and non-maskers. If we are going to branch and start living in a healed society in this beautiful new horizon, which I do feel so strongly in my heart we are going to, it's very capable. It's right for the taking is how I feel. It's just sitting right there. We're going to have to put down our stupid phones and start to reach out and hold each other again. And that's in my heart, that's my vision moving forward. And I've been working towards that for actually a number of months. And even just in day-to-day interactions with people, when I'm just, at a little boutique or a little shop, or, just getting little trinkets here and there, people are wanting to connect, and they're very awake. They're actually they're awakening their spirituality. They're very curious. They're wanting to know more information. So, I'm sharing podcasts with people. I'm sharing, I went to Bimini with my daughter last summer with Lisa and Heidi. They do amazing retreats down there with Wild Quest. I shared that information. Just go. Your soul will never be the same. It's going to be transformative. Just go and be with the dolphins. So people are really awake now, and they're searching and wanting, but it's just us again, like creating that bridge and just making that leap and being there and trusting that our other fellow human is ready for it.
It's amazing what we can do for each other, just in terms of inspiration. Like, let's say that you want to give somebody a hug, but they're on the internet and it was filmed 5 years ago, and you can't hug them because they're in China. And you go, well, I can make a video, post it, and it can reach hundreds, thousands, millions of people. And I can inspire them today for this 30 seconds of this video to have some hope, to realize that they're actually a beautiful person who is a creative entity. And if you're a creative entity, you can create a way to get out of the box that you're in, because we feel that we're in a box, and the truth is we are in the matrix box. But then we also put ourselves in these little psychological boxes where we don't allow ourselves to believe that we can get that wonderful job, or have that wonderful partner, or do that amazing hat trick. In our minds, it's a hat trick, but actually it's as easy as pie. All we have to do is have the confidence that we can do it. So I'm going to spend 30 seconds. I'm going to inspire people that I don't know. Hopefully that guy in China will see his video. And then because we ourselves needed that inspiration, we ourselves got that inspiration the day before and the day before and the day before. And that's why we're still here, because people are inspiring us to keep going. So even if you can't give somebody a hug, which is really obviously what they need, what people need is contact, energetic contact. And that's why you're an intuitive energy healer, because you understand that it's about energetic, it's about the body's energy, and realigning, perhaps. I don't know if that's a good word, realigning the body's energy. So tell us more about your modalities, because I know you have a lot of different things that you do to help people.
So we've already discussed the energy modality. Something I really have been led more, guided more into is sound. That has really been, I kind of hinted at this last year at the conference. I ended with my lecture on that, the great importance that sound plays in healing the body. And again, I was just talking to my friend the other day about this. What's the very first thing that we make the minute that we come into this earth? Is sound. That's our very first form of communication with our parents, is the sound. And that's the very first form. You know, a mother is so tuned in that she can hear from different pitches and different things. You know exactly what that child is needing. So at our very root, us as a species, we are hardwired to produce and make sound to relay information from one body to another, because again, it's just frequency. Now, for the past number of years, we have been moving, as our bodies are starting to transition from carbon-based into crystalline-based, and that has been a slow, I want to say arduous process. But you know, one of the reasons why so many people have stated, and I'm sure that you can relate to this, some of the cognitive issues, it's like you can't recall words. We're having difficulty recalling certain words. And one of those reasons is because when we're crystalline based, we're moving more into telepathy. And so that's really what sound is. And just how you were saying, like if you just spend 30 seconds, so, you know, say focusing on that man in China, through telepathy, through intention, we can send vibrations to somebody else, and we can affect into that quantum field other people. So again, to go back into sound, what the being, like light beings, worked with me for is being able to hit different pitches and different notes. So what started coming in when I'm working with somebody in person, I can do it, and I have been doing it over Zoom as well, but when I'm there, they will say, hit this pitch, and I'm hearing it, and then I replicate that. And you know, the first thing is going in, and it's right off the bat, showing people it's balancing out the hemispheres in the brain, because if those aren't balanced out first, then nothing is really going to align through the body. So I actually spend a lot of time working next to the ears, and whether I'm doing toning, pitches, or just straight energy, we're working on balancing out the hemispheres. And because once that's balanced, then the energy from the crown can continue to move through the body. So that's one thing I've been doing. And so I now do and offer sound activation. So once the body is in balance, then we can activate it. And again, these sounds are moving through. And what people have been sharing with me, what they experience, is a lot of expansive, you know, their heart chakra is widens and becomes wide open. The whole body begins to vibrate, and they don't necessarily understand what's happening, but their dreams become more vivid for the following days afterwards. The images, they start receiving more messages coming in, because again, it's shifting and it's activating different codes within the body. Because just like Ken Rule said, DNA, it's encoded. And light and sound are actually the same things. It's just what, again, it's just perception and what we can hear.
Right. Well, Nikola Tesla is your backup on that, because he said that sound, he said that light can be nothing else than a sound wave in the ether. Now, academia has discarded the ether in favor of saying it's a void out there. There's nothing out there. Light just travels through a void. It's like, say what now? Because before the control system came along and clamped down on this, on the ether, scientists understood that light needed a medium to travel. So from suns to planets, the light needed some medium, and it was invisible to us, but they called it the ether. It was called the luminiferous ether, and it was called that because, not because it was light radiant, but because it was light bearing. So we can't see it. It's not radiating light. It's essentially invisible to us in every possible way, but it's there, a medium. And Tesla talked about this medium extensively. And he said that light can be nothing else than a sound wave in the ether. And we also have, there was an insider in the secret space program who talked about his journeys down to the inner earth. And he said that the way that they produce light inside the earth is with sound. So Tesla and this insider who went to the inner earth and found a luminous inner, civilization down there. It wasn't just dark, it wasn't just a bunch of cavemen in the dark. It was an advanced civilization that learned how to produce their own light, so they have their own suns. But both of these people are saying what you're saying about sound being light. And so that's pretty astounding. And we weren't told this in academia. If you go get a degree in, let's say, what would that be in? Astrophysics. They won't tell you that.
Yeah. And, so I just want to add for just the listeners, when all of the, when my abilities started to come online for me, I stopped researching. Because I needed to know that what was coming through and what was being explained to me was genuine. And I needed to, because I still have a lot of people like, oh, Abby, do you listen to so-and-so? Or Abby, have you read this? Or have you listened to this? I'm like, no, because I need to know that what comes through is pure, because I don't ever want ego to have like a playground in there, right? Because I don't want to be in a position of, did that really come through? Or is that because I listened to that 3 weeks ago and I'm wanting that to happen? So
Right.
I just want to say, I haven't researched what I'm sharing. Everything that I'm sharing has come through beings over to myself, and sometimes my higher self integrating within. I was doing a session a few weeks ago in person, and I was over the body, and some light language was coming in, and I was doing toning, and I looked down at myself, and I had completely morphed into someone else, like into another version of myself. And I was much older. My hair was white. I have white hair. It was down past my waist. My hands, it was just like an old woman's hands. They're so all bony and skinny. And I just knew I have done this for thousands of years. And that's, and so part of the DNA too is, as you remember, and we are coming into a place, I'm getting blown up. We're coming into a place of great remembrance.
Hmm.
Our DNA is being activated. We're just remembering. Oh, okay. Can I just sit with this for a minute, Jock? Because this is really, it's coming in. So okay, thank you so much. They're saying a misconception. We're having a misconception that we're going to be going into another place, and then once we're there, then we're going to almost activate like this ascension process, right? But the great remembrance is the ascension, and that's how that will happen, because we're remembering. And once we have access to that, great change will then come for that, and it will feel as though it is a brand new place, it is a brand new space, but we're just embodying. We're they're showing me, if they're going like tick, 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 And it's showing like all of these experiences. It's almost like I'm ticking back through time. It's like tick, 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 tick. Everything is just coming in and coming in. And now we're embodying that. So sometimes they give me images and I have to sit there and try to make, make sense of it. But yeah, a place of great remembrance.
Well, for people who are sort of coming to things like this for the first time, this kind of information for the first time, it, as long as you hang in there with us a little bit longer, we can explain a little bit of this, because what Abby's talking about is that humanity is essentially in a state of amnesia in general. We have actually never known who we are. In a way, we're beyond amnesia. We're in a state of controlled hypnosis. We've been hypnotized from day one of our creation to believe that we are slaves that need to get their approbation and their check from somebody else. We're not told to tap into our own power. We're not told that we have any power. We're told that we're powerless. We're not, no one ever mentioned to us that we're sovereigns on the earth and in the galaxy. No one ever mentioned this to us when we were growing up. Little by little, we're starting to realize that we have an incredible power, that we are sovereigns, that we have power beyond the earthly power that we seem to have, which is, oh, I have a body that can walk from my house to my neighbor's house. Well, we're more than that. And you just told us some of the things that let us know that we have all these other lives that we've lived. We have all these skills and talents and gifts that we've been giving for life after life after life. So it's not that you're just saying words about, oh, the past and, past lives. We really have had past lives. We really need to remember, and we really will remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was in college. So actually my college years, I had a lot of past life memories coming through when I was in college for those 4 years. I actually had a lot of missing time during those years as well. But I'll never forget one morning I woke up and I had spent the whole night speaking in French. I was in this cafe with my friends whom in this lifetime I have never seen them before. And when I woke up, I spoke fluent French for the first few minutes of being awake. It was like I came out of it and I was just speaking the language and I knew exactly, and it was so fast. And then within like 2 minutes, boom, I was just, it was gone. I didn't remember the language anymore. So that is, and that has also been explained to me as well, because I once asked a being, like, how do you know so many different languages? Because the languages are plethora of them. And they said, well, every single experience that you've ever had is stored within you. So I know that I have lived a life completely. Now I might have downloaded this from the Akashic, but in France at some point, and maybe it's a parallel life that I'm leading there, but it doesn't matter. It's all stored within. So when I break down that amnesia, that will just be there and I will be able to access it when I need it. Right now, I don't need to access it. I'm in an English speaking country. I haven't been confronted with it. But as amnesia breaks down, I'll just have access to it when I need it.
Oh, I like this idea of the amnesia breaking down. I like this very much.
You were talking about how we've been conditioned in this lifetime to not go within. And when you start to look at, we've been told our whole lives, everything to help us is everything is outside of us. Anywhere from all of the religions, you're praying to somebody, you're asking for salvation from somebody, you're releasing forgiveness, and empowerment comes from things outside of you. And then even down to the school, all of your education comes from somebody outside of you. When you go to work, all of your validation and your pay comes from somebody outside of you. The entire structure has been built so that we are always pulling from outside to bring something inside, because inside we're just empty, and we're empty without it. We know we have nothing without it, without all of the exteriors. And I think, there's so many people today that they can't even spend 15 minutes by themselves. It has to be the computer, the TV, the phone, even, you know, drinking and food. It's every single thing is outside of us for our, I don't know why I'm doing this, like I was numbering off things, all the different things, the external to bring us comfort and the things that we need. Where in all reality, everything that we need just starts right here.
Well, what would it feel like for someone who's never gone inside and who's never believed in their own power, who's never touched base with their own power? What would it feel like for them to feel their own power? What would it feel like?
Also, a number of years ago, I had crystalline beings coming in, and they were working with so I'm going to show so you guys can see what I'm pointing at right here, this right where the rib cage starts to separate, that this right here is the seat of the soul, like this right here. A lot of people want to say the heart, but this is where they went. And right here was where there's almost a crystal, like we have that, you know, I call it like a soul spark, but your excitement, not your gut. I'm not going down to the gut. This is right here. Like when you feel really excited, it almost takes your breath away, right? You're like, like when you get really happy and you feel jittery, you feel those butterflies, like everything right here. This is the center. This is your crystalline core. And so they were working with me, like, we're going to start expanding that. This is where we're going to start. We're going to start expanding your torsion field. And then so I would walk with them, and then we would get that spinning and spinning. And that's when they were saying, like, you're moving more into a crystalline based body. But once you actually can feel that inner fire, that inner fire element of your own light, of your own spark begin to grow and expand, you feel so, and I know it's like the most overused word ever, but it's the truth. You feel grounded in who you are, and you feel more capable. And another thing that helped me, and this is again, this is just my journey. What helped me understand, because again, everything was outside of us, right? And you know, they always talk about like nature versus nurture, and where do we get our personalities from, and just living one life. The more past life regressions I did, and I did a QHHT, which is for those, that's a quantum healing hypnosis technique. Dolores Cannon does it, but did it. I'm sorry. And the more I was able to see through those different versions of myself, aspects that were soul aspects, that were the commonality, like, oh, I've actually always been this way. No matter what scenario I put myself in, that's one of my, like, that's one of my superpowers. You know, like that's just a soul spark, very specific for myself, that no matter what situation I'm in, that's always going to come through. And the one thing for me was I'm always able to look at the silver lining. You can put me in the most intense, worst situations. I will always find something to laugh about. I just will, because that's my survival. But anyway, so me doing more of that, I do realize I chose this. I chose this avatar. I chose everything that I'm experiencing. And when you take ownership of that, you begin to love yourself in a different way, on a soul self. But to go back to the original thing, when you start to build up and really feel your own fire element inside, your own light inside, that's a game changer.
How do you feel that? How do you begin to feel that fire element inside you?
Well, you know, they always say imagination is creation. So in the very beginning, if you're not feeling that, like, well, I'm not feeling any, if you're just sitting here like, I'm not feeling any spinning, imagine that spinning is there. Imagine literally inside of your mind, imagine a crystal. What color is that crystal? What shape is it? What does it look like? Does it have texture to it? Where are the splinters? Like, where does it edge off? Hold that in your hand, and then imagine that you're now placing that right in between your rib cage. And now you're seeing it, you're feeling it. This is its home. This is where it resides. You know, this beautiful light, this energy source. And then once you see that, and you can feel that so beautifully cradled and nestled there. Then with your mind, you begin, all right, let's create some movement there. Let's begin to pulsate that out, just like your heart, how that circulatory system, that like boom, boom, boom through your body. And imagine that just spinning very small at first, very tight and small and protected and safe. And then you're like, all right, let's go. We're going to expand it. Let's get this going. Let's expanding it. And you can feel that heat's beginning to generate within that space. And you're saying, no, I want even more protection. My light can spread even further. And now you're beginning to move it outside of your body. And then you're continuing to spin that. And then you can feel it. You can feel the vroom, vroom, vroom. This is you. This is your field. This is your space. This is your energy. And it also begins to create, then through that, this is my protection.
I think when people talk about love, and everybody does, including Hallmark, everyone's talking about love and it's been really diluted. I think that one of the ways to think about love, if we start with a romantic relationship and we say, what is love in a romantic relationship? Well, I think it's when you meet someone who allows you to relax into what you are, as opposed to being someone that you think you need to be to make them happy and to make them feel like you're a cool person and you're wonderful and that you're lovable. So you meet someone who suddenly you can just be yourself and you relax, and what you're relaxing into is your power. So the relaxation feeling is the love. It's what we call love, but it's really just it's not just it's not just it's relaxation into who we are. We've spent our whole lives tensed up, and Alan Watts talks about this. He says we're tense, we're protecting ourselves from all these attacks from society all the time. All these teachers telling us we're not good enough, our parents told us we're not good enough, our friends are judging us. Oh, you didn't wear the right thing today. You're not very cool. And we're just tensed up. And finally we meet somebody who doesn't do that to us, who's not attacking us. And you're like, oh, wait, I can just relax and just be who I am. And then once we're relaxed, then we could go, hey, I saw that video with Abby Lynn. She said something about a crystal, and I could, now that I'm relaxed, I'm with somebody that I love and who loves me, and I love them, and I let them be who they are. They're letting me be who I am. Then I can start thinking about, oh, maybe this crystal thing could work, because we're not a solid body. We're an energetic geometrical matrix of patterns. If we really look at what science is telling us, we seem to be solid, but maybe we could imagine a crystal going into us and putting it there, because it's all frequency. So let's take the frequency of that imagination, as you said, that thought, and we're going to imagine it's there, and we'll try that and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say, like, play with it, but yeah, just work on expanding out from that field. And really that's your solar plexus, right? And that is your protective space. And then we move up into that heart frequency, just right up above that, and begin expanding that out. And so when I am doing that type of, I'm building up that torsion down below, which we already talked about, and then I move up to the heart space and I get that spinning and pushing out. And when I'm pushing that out, my intention for that is I am pushing this out because this is what I want to receive back. I want only heart-based, positive beings to see me, to feel me. We can fill each other's cups up. And I'm telling you, when you leave your home, and you get those two fields spinning, the protection, I am a divinely protected being. I am here to have a soul spark and to affect people and to touch people's lives. And I am protected and grounded. And then you start spinning out that heart frequency and say, I am here of love. I am here to help and aid, service to others. And in that return, I will bounce into other service to others, and we will help each other. Just do that, and wait and see what comes into your life.
And it sounds like there's no room, there's no time for us to go, how can I impress someone?
No.
How can I do something to get their approbation, their love, their compliments?
Mhm.
There's no time for that because we're not coming from, as you said, reaching out for something outside of, we're just being what we are, right?
Mhm. Well, and the goal is, again, that's going back to external. The goal is to get to a place there you don't need that external validation. I told my husband years ago, he he told me one day, he said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make you happy. Like I really just want to make you happy. And I was like, I dealt with seasonal depression, and because it was the sun, I need the sunlight. And I just looked at him, and I had a biting energy, but I said, it is not your job to make me happy. That is on me. It is 100% on me. Don't you ever say that to me again. That is not your job. I am the only person who can make myself happy. And if I'm not, then I need to go within and figure out what I need to shift or move, or what I need to bring into myself. So that's just, baseline in our whole family. Like, don't look for external validation. I don't need that gold sticker to make myself feel good. I just don't.
At the same time, we are also naturally supportive of each other, aren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Being there, being present, but I'm not relying on it. I'm not relying on it like a tube, like all right, I'm going to suck all your happiness so that I'm happy.
Right. So if your children are talking to you,
Mhm.
you're not trying to, let's say, I'm just spitballing here. You're not trying to, how can I work in the compliment there to make them feel better about themselves? You're just listening to them and being with them. You're being present with them. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, for instance, just give you, for instance, how that plays out. And I do this all the time. They get in the car, pick them up from school, they come home. Oh, mom, I got a really good grade on my test today. I did really well on my project today. I always say, you should be really proud of yourself. You worked really hard. That's amazing. I don't say, I am proud of you, because they shouldn't want that. It's always, you did that. Be proud of yourself. And I ask them, like, how does it make you feel inside? Well, I feel really good because I studied really hard. Okay, that's, you did that. So I don't want them, because I struggle with that. This is me. Like I was a kid who had all the external validation, right? In the past. And I struggle. I'm like, I want to do things. I don't want to do things for the gold sticker. That's what I always say to my kids. Like, you shouldn't do things in life for the gold sticker, which is somebody else giving you validation. You should do it for you, because take ownership of that. You worked hard for that. How does it make you feel? Don't do things because I expect them of you.
It's so funny that you mentioned this gold sticker because literally this morning I was at the chiropractor because our refrigerator sort of died recently, and so me and my mom are moving the refrigerator, and she's 97 and she's like giving it all 100%, and I'm giving it my 100%, and I got injured a little bit. She's fine. She's 97. She's just like, it's not a problem. I'll move the refrigerator. And I'm like, oh, I hurt my back a little bit. I didn't tell her that, but at the chiropractor, I was talking to her, and she's a wonderful healer, and so as we were leaving together to go to the front, I said, "Oh, it's so great that you're so organized," because she was talking about how her pool, she'd covered her pool with this comforter, like because it was freezing, and she didn't want the mechanics of the pool to freeze and stuff. And I was like, "Wow, you're so organized. It's amazing. I can barely get organized enough to like make a list for myself to stretch my neck once a day. Like if even if I did that once a week, I'd be proud of myself." And I said, and I jokingly said to her, "You should make a list for, because you're a type A personality,
Okay.
doctor. You should make a list for me right now of the things I should do today to like stretch your neck, Jock." And she's like, "Yeah, you could wash your hands first and then you could stretch your neck." And I said, "Yeah. And if I do all that, I could come in, and every time that I fulfilled the list, you could give me a gold star on my forehead," as a joke.
Yeah.
But see, that's where we are. We need someone to give us a gold star because we don't know that we're okay, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's how we were raised. It's just, I mean, I remember in the second grade, my teacher had a teddy bear system, and she had these little cutout laminated teddy bears. And every time you did something, your behavior was correct.
Right.
You got a teddy bear, and everybody in the whole class could see how full your pocket was of teddy bears. And at the end of the month, you took your teddy bears, and then you could go to like she had a little shop. No, I love this teacher. I'm not trying to say anything bad about her. I loved her. Wonderful, beautiful woman. And she had like a little shop, and she had like little erasers and pencils. And so like if you had 15 teddy bears, you had 15 teddy bears to spend at her store. So I mean, it's a very, very commonly used psychological tactic. You reward the behavior that you want to see. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I tell my kids all the time, I'm so proud of you, and I love you. You make me happy. But I don't want that to be their lifeblood, where they're only doing it because they want my validation. I want them to feel it inside first. And then all the adoration outside of it, that's just icing on their cake, right? That's just the sprinkles. So that's the goal, is like it's not the lifeblood. So
We have all these people dying on Everest this year, even more than usual, and that's in the news. And I always think, and I'm not judging any of these people who go do this amazing adventure at all, or who go do mountain biking in a place in Utah where most of them die, like the vast majority of them die. And there's still people who go mountain biking in this place, and it's so dangerous. I have a feeling that every single one of these people is trying to please someone, perhaps their father, to make them think that they're good enough. And so I'm going to climb the tallest mountain in the world.
yeah.
Oops, I died trying to get your approval, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how powerful this societal mechanism is. It will put our lives on the line because we don't feel the power that we intuitively understand we should be feeling. We should be feeling powerful and empowered, and we don't really. How do I get this power? Oh, someone can give it to me.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I also do psychic and mediumship sessions. I call them soul sessions, because that's really is. It's just we sit down, and it's an interaction with your higher self, your soul self, your guides, all of those in. And at the end, often my clients will say, Abby, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I always say, no, you did this. You did this, not me. I'm just an open vessel. But it was your energy that chose to come in and book the session. These are your people. This was your soul being ready to take the next step, to get the information in. If they had not done that, if their own energy hadn't chosen to come in and to give access, because I mean, I've seen a session before where I've seen their guides, and their guides are literally, their mouths are sewn shut, because the client wasn't ready to hear anything. They were afraid of what might come through, because your guides, they work for you. They don't work for me. They don't work for mediums. They don't work for us. I work for spirit. But if you're the person sitting here, haven't done the work and haven't given the permissions and haven't been ready to receive, then nothing will happen. I've absolutely had a session and nothing's come through. And then I have, the next session, and it's just so much has come through. So I always say, no, you did this. You did
I
this.
see. So you're saying the same person comes in, and one time nothing comes through because they're not ready, but then the next time they are ready.
Yeah.
Aha.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. Well, what's it like working for spirit, as you say? What's it like? Because most of us have gone through the mill, and we've worked as a waiter or waitress. We for 10 years. We've worked at a gas station. We've worked at a convenience store. We've worked in a corporation where we were treated like a number. And it's just like, if it's a feeling of being a slave in this weird grid where it's like, well, I need to survive, so I'll be a slave. I'll wear the uniform and look like a monkey in this weird uniform and feel weird, like constrained and disempowered. for the paycheck that I need to live, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
you're saying you work for spirit. So what's that like? What's it like working for spirit?
So it's a saying, and it's both ethical, and if somebody comes and they have a soul session, and at the end of it they say, well, I was hoping to speak to XY, or like X, Y, and Z, or I want X to come through. I don't work for you, I work for spirit. And if X isn't ready to come through yet, then X isn't going to come through. So that's how I say I work for spirit. And if spirit is wanting to share something, I did have one instance where the person, I had somebody come through, and the person sitting there said, don't want to talk to them. I have no interest in speaking with them. Well, I work for spirit. And I said, I respect that we won't converse further, but she is telling me this. So let me share this with you, and then I'll ask her to step back. So that's working for spirit. She stepped in, she wanted a message to come across. I shared that. But then I respected the client, and we didn't continue with that. But yeah, so that's when I say, like, I work for spirit. I also work for spirit because when spirit's coming through, they are coming through a clear vessel. So I do the soul health work. So this is a clear vessel for them. And so that is lifestyle. That's my diet. That's how I treat this physical vessel. That's the ethics I bring in. So, I mean, spirit will vet. Spirit will vet. Some spirits absolutely vet me. I actually had one spirit. He was he was a genius, and he has graced the cover of Time magazine. He is a genius, and he was vetting me. I've actually spoken to him twice. He was going in my mind and looking at my IQ level. He was like, what have you accomplished in your life? Like, where are you at, to determine, am I even a worthy person for him to speak to?
So in a session with someone else, you contact, or he perhaps contacted you and said, should I even work through you to talk to this person you're working with in your session?
Yeah, I mean, it was my client's family member.
Aha.
So so
Ah,
yeah, he came through for my client.
yeah.
Um, it was their family member, but he was, and that, honestly, and because he was doing that, I said I could feel him, and I kind of joked. I said, he's vetting me to see if I'm worthy, if I'm smart enough for him to even talk to. And they started dying laughing. They said, oh my God, I know exactly who that is. Yes, he would do that. They're like, he was a literal genius, and he would only speak to people who he felt it was worth his time.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
And sometimes while the spirit themselves as a light wouldn't be like that, he would show that aspect of his personality to me, because the sitter instantly knew who that was, and she could relate to it.
Okay, say that once more again.
Okay. So for everyone listening at home, when you are wanting to connect with past loved ones, and this can vary based on how long it has been since they have passed, know that, as we have been discussing here, we have lived multiple lives, because at the core, we're just light, right? And so I've been multiple people. Right now, I'm expressing myself as Abby. And when I pass and I go back to being light, if someone from my family wanted to talk to me, I would essentially come in and re-embody Abby, the aspect of Abby. And then I would showcase different personality types, so that the person still living could realize, oh yeah, there's Abby. Like, I remember her. She did that, blah, blah, blah. But then when I go back into light, multiple things. So and everything I share, guys, is because this is what I've seen working with it. This is hands-on information. I have had a spirit come through that it had been a long time since they had passed. They were kind of actually having their own fun replaying the memories of that lifetime. And while this sitter was wanting to ask some questions, I go, hold on, just give them a second. They're enjoying looking back at their life. And so I literally could see them. It's like watching a movie. And they're going through different aspects, and they were smiling and enjoying that. And as they were doing that, I shared them like, well, they're looking at this moment when they were a child. Oh, they're looking at this moment right now when they were, middle age. Oh, okay, now they're looking at when they got married. And the sitter could say, oh yeah, I can validate that. I can validate. I go, okay, just give them another minute, because they're enjoying this. They're reliving that aspect. And then what they're doing is they're re-embodying it. So then they step more forward, like, okay, now we can talk. Oh yeah, hey, and then it's a three-way conversation.
And when you say re-embody, you're not talking about this sort of physicality. You're talking about a consciousness.
They have fully went from light to re-immersed into that aspect. Does that make sense?
Right. So you might not be able to see them, but you can perceive them as that aspect.
Correct. Yeah. So like if I'm going to use my hand to demonstrate, to give a visual. So if this circle here, this is your light body. This is just you as a light. And you have lived your life being Mary, Joe, Tom, Hank, and Mark, right? Well, someone from Mark's lifetime wants to contact you. So you as your light, you come in and you're like, oh, wait. Okay. Oh, I'm going to be Mark again. Whoop, I'm going to go and embody the time I was Mark. And I'm going to look at all those memories. Okay, I'm remembering all those. Okay, now I'm Mark again. Whoop, now I can talk to that living relative who is wanting Mark's memories and Mark's experiences.
Why did we choose, you and I, and so many others, to come to Terra and forget everything for some period of time in our lives?
Oh goodness. I can only share what I know for myself. I know, so before I came down, I placed within my contract certain moments to be revisited for the sole purpose of helping me remember and break through. Because it was very important that we remember to come down here. It was very important that we break, for the people being the bridges. It's important that we break through that amnesia to begin to remember. It really wasn't until I fully started getting more memories back that all of this that we've been talking about makes sense. It makes complete sense to me.
So you came here to remember.
Yes.
So that you could help and be of service to others. There's this paradigm out there for those who are new to this. Service to self is the control system folks, and the service to others is the, what you would imagine, the people who are trying to help, and in some cases be a bridge to the new earth, to the new Terra, as I call it. Because I've been told by Vanessa Lyle that she's a medium. She says that the Galactic Federation members call our planet Terra. Now, this is rather obvious, I think, in etymology, because we have terrain, terrestrial, extraterrestrial, subterranean, terrarium. And then if you go to Earth, then we go Earth. That's it. We don't have earth anything. That's just other word over there that means really soil, which is, it's understandable that we might want to call our planet what we think of as soil. That's good, but no one in the galaxy calls our planet Terra, calls our planet Earth except us.
Yeah.
So some civilizations have a different name for a planet, Vanessa says, that's not Earth or Terra, but the Galactic Federation members call this planet Terra. So I just wanted to put that out there But anyone can really look at the etymology and go, and I had already come to the conclusion that it must be called Terra. It must be called Terra because all these words are pointing to it. So in many nations on Earth today, on Terra today, do have this word for our planet. So we have in French it's terre, in Catalan it's terra, in I think it's called Galician, it's terra, Portuguese terra, or tierra is so the Romance languages basically seem to have it right, and then English has got it wrong. So and it feels better in our mouth, I think. Terra. It's got possibility. It's opening up. It's resonant. Earth is kind of like earth. It's stuck. And I think that once we start talking about our planet as Terra, and it has a feminine aspect to it, this will help us in the transition.
Yeah. And we are Terran. Our species is Terran. And we're referred to as Terran. Yeah, that completely shifted and started making more sense to just call it Terra years ago in Terran. And so sometimes when I'm, claiming my sovereignty as especially over this planet, when they were doing all the lockdowns, my soul aspect just got so upset. Like, we're all Terran. How dare you? How dare anyone tell us that we can't move about Terra as sovereign Terrans wherever we want? And I think that's going to be a huge aspect of where we're moving to. This whole planet is because we are Terran, and she's meant to be enjoyed and protected and experienced. That's one thing. The more that I have spoken with and dealt with dimensional beings, is truly looking at and enjoying the beauty of this planet. She's so beautiful. I mean, she was supposed to be one of the original Edens, and then that got hijacked, but she's a beautiful planet that should be shared and explored and experienced and protected.
It's interesting that Terra is crystalline in nature.
Mm-hmm. Her core is crystalline core. I've seen it. It's protected by dragons. She has a crystalline core. Yeah.
For those who believe that dragons are only in fairy tales, which is what I believed for many years, and then only very recently began to understand that they are real, and that's why so many cultures talk about them. Why else would they? It all makes sense if we really think about it. Dragons are benevolent beings, and they are here to at least not bother us, and perhaps to help us, perhaps to even guard us. Do you have any experience with this, Abby Lynn?
Yes, I do. I'm very close with the dragons. I've actually, the past couple days, I'm a little irritated because they keep saying like there's new dragon codes coming in, and because I literally hear on repeat dragon codes, dragon codes, dragon codes. And so yesterday I spent literally 2 hours at the computer with my microphone, because I do, again, like I do ancient toning and singing and light language. And so because they were showing me like they need like there's dragon codes that are ready to be shared and bring forward and be brought forward. And so every time I just opened up the channel, it just wasn't there yet. So they're but they're still there. I can feel them. I can feel the channel pressing on me. So yes, I love the dragons. I always joke that if I were to go and have a pint with anybody, it would be a dragon. That's their personality. Very jovial. They have a great sense of humor. It took me a while, and I finally figured it out. They and the angelics are from somewhat very similar realm. And I could not figure out for the life of me why, because when they come through, they feel the same to me. And I've seen angelics riding on dragons, and they work together, and it finally came through in a channel. The dragons, the angels work with creation beings, right? So they're the creation, the blueprints, and the dragons are the elementals, which is the other aspect of life. And that's how they work together.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I think that for those who are just hearing about angels as actual beings and not just something that someone made up for Holy Scripture back in the day, and dragons as real, stay tuned, because Abby Lynn hopefully will be able to. I'll ask Abby Lynn to come back on and talk more about these things. I know that there's a very fertile ground when it comes to dragons, because Abby has had personal experience with dragons throughout her life. And I won't say anything more about, I'll let her talk about this in another episode. Hopefully you can come back on and talk about dragons and more. I'm really thankful that you were able to come on, because I know that you're a very busy person. You're out there healing, you're being a bridge. Even your attire is colored like those red bricks that they build bridges out of. And so you're like this you're another brick in the bridge, not in the wall that's keeping us from understanding our true selves. You're a brick in the bridge that's going to lead us out of this bizarre matrix. And you're going to do that by remembering, by continuing to remember. And then you're going to bring in some dragon codes pretty soon. And I'd like to hear more about that. So Abby Lynn, thank you so much for coming on. And I think in the transition to new Terra from old Earth, Earth just keeps sticking in my mouth, Earth, 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 and Terra, to new Terra. I think that we're all going to joyously, feeling our power, we're all going to help to build a beautiful bridge that itself is blossoming and flowering. It's not just a functional bridge, but it's a beautiful movement toward a new way of life for all of humanity. And when we realize our place in the galactic family that we have, because we have the genes of 22 or so advanced races in us, they are our ancestors. When
Yeah.
we get to start engaging with them on this bridge, it's going to be an astounding time for humanity. And that's now. That's it's not some dead time in the future. That's right now, right?
Yeah, it is right now. And I'm glad you brought up the different races. I often ask when, especially if it's a new species, a new race that's coming in that I'm talking with, I will ask them, why, sorry, my little puppy wants to come up, why, why am I speaking with you? How can I connect with you? And the answer back has always been, because you are us. It's in your lineage. And that, again, that goes back to that DNA, that blueprint code, right? And it's because you've lived it, you can access that little dial point, that frequency, as to how to connect it.
Well, I
And
feel
again,
like your intention is so clear.
yeah.
That is that part of a daily method that you use to move through life, is having a clear intention.
Yes, I try to, absolutely, especially when I am working within that quantum field. Absolutely, it needs to be the minute that you're going up into those dimensionalities and you're going up into quantum, you need to be clear and precise in your intention in what you are hoping to get out of there.
Is it
Absolutely.
okay for us to want something, or do we have to feel guilty that we might want something from the universe?
They want you to ask for things. They can't do things unless you ask. And I tell this to people all the time. We are surrounded by so many beings that want, that love and support us, but they cannot help us unless you ask. They can't. That's their law. Those are their rules. Those are their laws, because they cannot interfere. So they need you. They're begging you to ask them to help you.
So for those of us who feel guilty asking for help,
Yeah.
what would you suggest? Well, what's a way to sort of somehow bypass that and just temporarily bypass that so that we can ask?
You know, maybe blunt, get over it and ask for help. Just get over yourself. Ask for help. It doesn't make you weak. Ask for it because it can't be given unless it is.
We put ourselves in a vulnerable position when we ask for help, don't we?
No, I think sometimes that's some of the most bravest people when they realize that they can't do it alone, and they want help along that. You know, even you go to my website, I put on there, we were never meant to do this alone.
Hmm.
That's the great illusion. That's the great illusion, is that you are alone and you're not. Because when you're alone, you feel powerless, right? I'm just one small little person. What am I going to do? When you realize that not only are you surrounded by an entire team of your family and ancestors and beings and guides, but we are all connected. We are all one. And that is the collective. That's the help. That's when we can really start doing some massive shift work.
Another way we might be able to think of it is if we ask for help, if we're feeling guilty about asking for help because we've been trained that makes us weak,
Mhm.
we can look at it as we're asking for help so that we can be of service to others.
Yes.
We need to be better to help other people. And so that might be another way to bypass this nonsense that we've been brought up with, that we're not allowed to ask for help, that we're alone, as you say, and that, we have to ask for help and only in the most dire circumstances. I'm drowning in a river. Okay, I'll ask for help now. If you don't mind, please save me. Instead of that, go, you know what? I'm powerful and I want to be more powerful to help others.
Yep. And I want to go, back to, because, now we're talking about like asking others for help, right? In the beginning, we were talking about finding that within you, not looking for things external, right? So this is the same. It's adding on. So when we are all batteries, right? And we all have our own energy core within, which we've discussed in the beginning. Now we're not asking for help in regards to, well, now I'm not going to do anything.
Hmm.
I'm just going to leave it to other people. That's not what we're asking for. It's, hey, can I ask for help to build this raft? Because 4 people building a raft is better than me building it all by myself. I'm going to help you and I'm going to be a part of it. It's just like when a singular battery is able to power a flashlight. But if you want a floodlight, you need 4 batteries in there. So it's that type of a concept that we're talking about.
Wow, beautiful. And if we're all light, then I guess floodlight's the way to go.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
why narrow it down to a flashlight when you could be a floodlight, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we're going to call this the Great Remembrance.
Yeah.
And I thank you again for coming on the show. I'm going to try to ask for help more.
Yeah. And
Thank,
you're right. We've been wired not to ask for help. We have been wired that way. So yeah, just ask for it.
thank you, Abby Lynn. And I hope you can come back on the show down the road and we can check in on the bridge that we're building.
I would love that. I would love that. That sounds great. Thank you for having me on. And if anyone ever feels called, again, I'm doing the 4-day immersive activation down in Charleston. We're going to be working with, the thing I love about it is I have 2 friends that we're going to be working together, but we're going to be walking and using the historical grounds of Charleston and all that energy to help with this awakening. And again, we've talked so much about like breaking through that amnesia. It's really not, it's putting yourself in those spaces where those activations can occur to help flood that memories back in. It's really not until you're physically doing something until that memory comes back in, like, oh wow, because it's muscle memory, right? So
And this is in the spring. It's called Spring Awakening. Is that right?
yeah, we decided, because and that goes back to everyone's, are you making resolutions for January? Why are you making resolutions in the middle of the dead of winter when everything is dormant? So wait till spring and then make those revolutions, because everything's coming back alive again. So
That sounds amazing. Yeah, and if people want to go to Abby's website, it's abbylynn.co.
Taco,
And
yeah.
the first thing that comes up is the Spring Awakening in Charleston, and it sounds beautiful. Get out in nature and get out into the city and remember who we are. And then you have an Egyptian tour coming up too, which sounds amazing. Can
I
you tell us a
do.
little bit about that?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yeah, I just announced that yesterday. It is we pushed it out till March of 2025, because March and April are the two best months to visit Egypt, because the weather is just beautiful there. And I'm going with, his name is Maher Hagag, and he's been leading sacred tours for 30 years. So he just travels the world and goes to sacred sites. And our group is very small, and we do this for a reason, because again, with energy, if it's hard to deal with a lot of different people's energy, and so we're trying to everyone to kind of come into alignment with one another. But what Maher does is, we are there to activate. We're activating ourselves. We're activating the land, and that's why we're going to these sacred sites, because there's so many vortexes and portal. There's a reason why they chose these areas on the planet to put some of these massive, pieces. So we will be channeling, and I'm going there and going to be doing my singing and my toning and activating the pyramids and activating these sites. But we're only going to go at like midnight. When all the tourists are gone and all the light pollution is gone, this is where we're going to go. And, because my hair has been doing this for so many years, we're going to get exclusive entrance into certain pyramids, getting deep into certain areas where we can go and spend 2 hours, just our group, and really connecting with that energy.
Right.
Using some psychometry and allowing the ancients to come through and speak.
That sounds amazing. Well, thank you again for coming on, and I'll hope to see you again, and we can talk some more.
I would love it. Thanks for having me, Jock. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.